your large ball. We're going to start by placing that ball, I'll turn to the side so you can see, right in the center of my foot. So if I were to point at the top of my foot, it's going right here. You're gonna just shift your weight side to side. The idea is not to make this painful, so just shift your weight because you never know what you're going to get when you first start this. So we'll say 7 to 10 times. Just find a place that's tolerable pressure. Stand, compress, and wait. Nice focused belly breath. And then we're gonna move our joints around and try to get ourselves a little bit more grounded. And then we're gonna step back and we're going to put the ball underneath the big toe knuckle. So again, if I'm going to point straight down on the top of my knuckle, the ball is right underneath. You're not gonna see it poke out between your toes. So compress, nice focused breath, and take a step back. We're gonna move it right underneath the second toe knuckle. So again, I wanna see this knuckle pop up. Nice focused breath. Step back and move the ball underneath the third knuckle. And every compression down, you're gonna take a nice focused belly breath. So move it to the fourth knuckle. And keep in mind that our knuckles do not go straight across, that you're gonna need to move the ball back to get underneath the fourth toe. And the same for the fifth toe. For the pinky toe, we're gonna compress down and step back. All right, I'm gonna come a little closer so you can see this. The next spot we're gonna go, if you think of the arch of our foot, we're gonna go to the back portion of the arch of our foot. So compress down. I'm gonna look down and see the ball and then just barely cover it up. And then I'm going to compress down. Nice focused breath and come back. Moving the ball underneath the knuckle, but right behind the big toe knuckle. Again, look down, see the ball, move your foot over, just barely covering so I don't see it now, and compress. And come back. I'm gonna turn my body so you can see. We're going on the outside of the foot, so we're gonna come halfway down and see the edge of the ball, cover it up, compress and wait. Nice focused breath. And come back. And then our last point we're gonna go to is right in front of the heel. So we're gonna go right here. Put my toes down. And it's right underneath the ankle. In the crease of my ankle, compress. And come back off the ball. Next thing we're gonna do is we're going to glide. So gliding is I'm gonna keep the toes 4 foot down and I'm going to move the ball back and forth under my foot. And again, I'll turn so you can see what I'm doing. So the goal of this is to compress down and melt into that tissue and keep the same pressure as you're working the ball to the back of your heel, and then come back to where you're gonna work the ball to the front of the heel. So it's more of a twisting motion of my leg to make the ball glide back and forth and back and forth. And now we're going to add a little more pressure as we're working deeper into the layers of tissue, and we're going to shear. So what's happening, I'll show you here on my arm. If this is gliding, if I add a little more pressure, now I'm engaging the flesh, engaging the fascial tissue. I'm not moving on the skin. I'm trying to pin the flesh and move and hydrate the fascial tissue, shifting or shearing that tissue off the bone. Yes. And then after you've shear, you're going to compress and wait. We just created a lot of fluid. Now we're going to let it absorb into the fascial tissue like a sponge and then come off. Now that we've hydrated, we're going to move this fluid one directionally globally, all right? So we're gonna start with the ball underneath the toe knuckle and we're gonna glide with the same even pressure. So you're starting again, I draw lines from the toe to the heel, from the toe to the heel, and connect dots. So move your body one direction so that I like the example if I were to put my finger down in a cup of water and spin it, and take my finger out, the water continues to spin. And that's what we're doing. We're shifting this fluid exchange up into the body. And then our last step is a nice little friction. Let me back up so you can see. Very light pressure. Just starting a little fire, color it all in. to center. Now I love doing an assessment. I'll come back and move my camera up a little bit. We're gonna do another quick assessment to see which changes that you've made in the body. So start with your feet shoulder width apart. Close your eyes, give yourself permission to feel and assess your body right now. This leg that you just did should feel more evenly weighted, maybe even a little lighter, maybe a little more lifted. And then as you move up your leg, you should notice, again, a much more light feeling. Maybe before you were contracting your quads or contracting your glutes. Hopefully that's changed. Now we're gonna lean our weight forward. Just round up in your back and let your arms hang in. The neat thing about that one directional fluid exchange, if you did a really good job of the fluid exchange, you're gonna notice that maybe this hand is hanging a little longer than the other hand. That's how you know you did a great job. And a little more seamless up the back of the leg. Now when you come back to the top, I want you to keep your eyes closed. And do you feel a difference in your feet? Do your feet feel more side by side than they did before? Great, you did great changes. Now let's do the other foot. So again, we're gonna start in the center. So I'll put my toes down over the front and drop my foot down. I'll turn back so you can see. And we're just simply shifting our weight side to side. And I'm gonna step back so I can see you this time. Shifting our weight side to side, tolerable pressure. We're not trying to hurt ourselves. We're trying to just ground ourselves a little more, make a connection to the brain, and then we're gonna compress and move our joints around. So this is just helping our autopilot find its center of gravity again, connect from our head through our pelvis to our feet. And now we're gonna start our position point pressing. So bring the ball right underneath the first toe knuckle, compress down. So again, it's center of the first knuckle, not the toe. And you're taking a deep belly breath each time, pick up, back up. And I like to raise my toes so I can see that I don't see the ball. We want it to be right underneath the knuckles. And then the third toe. And another thing is to take notice of is, do you actually see your knuckles coming up? If a lot of the fascial tissue, connective tissue between the bones, as we're trying to differentiate the bones, if the tissue is really dehydrated, you may not see a knuckle come up at all. But over time, hopefully we get that to change. So by now you should be to the fifth toe. Good. I'm gonna turn so you can see. We're gonna work into our arch. So go to the back arch. Again, see the ball, cover it up, and then compress. So when I look down right now, I'm just barely seeing the edge of that blue ball. Bring it back behind the first toe, big knuckle. Barely see it, cover it up. Shift my weight forward, compress, nice deep breath. And come back. I'm gonna turn again so you can see. So the ball is halfway down my foot. Come to the edge, cover it up, compress and wait. And come back, put the ball right in front of the heel, right where all the tendons of the plantar fascia come together. Compress and wait. And now we're going to glide. So remember, gliding is when the ball moves. So I'm just taking my foot side to side, keeping my toes planted or my forefoot planted, and I'm just moving the ball to the back of my heel and coming back forward. And something to get with the foot treatment is all those points that we step and compress on are actually attaching, or I don't like to think there's an end point to anything, because fascia is just a continuation of tissue, a fluid-filled tissue. But we have fascial continuums that we know, fascial pathways, that are thicker and provide us more support. So each one of those points in our feet are actually connected to one of those fascial continuums. The side line, the spiral line, the superficial back line. All right, now we're going to shear, so compress a little harder. And again, shearing is when we're engaging a little more pressure and shifting that tissue back and forth, or engaging that flesh, engaging the fascial tissue. And with your glides and your shears, fascia really likes when you are consistent. So you think about, if I were giving a massage and I'm gliding down your back, you would not want me going raising my pressure. Fascial tissue does its magic when you are consistent with your pressure. Fluid, like spreading maybe almond butter on a piece of bread. And then we compress and wait. We've caused all this hydration. Now we want the fascial tissue to absorb and release, sucks it all in. Now we're going to move that tissue throughout the body. So same thing, compress, nice even pressure, one direction. We're just moving forward and then bring it back. Moving forward and bring it back. Again, I connect all of my toes, and then I come back a couple times in the center. Great, and then we friction. So lighten up your pressure, color it all in. Now, to advance this, if you have more time, you can take the large hard ball or even the smaller, we're gonna switch feet and go back in friction. You can take the smaller softball, either one of those two, and do more work because you've earned the right now via the fascial tissues to go deeper. So the smaller soft or the larger hard ball is going to be the next stage of getting deeper into more like the quadratus plantae and other deeper structures, soft tissue in the foot. And so friction both feet again, and then we'll reassess. Great. So again, stand side by side, close your eyes, give yourself permission to feel, have that awareness. Both feet should feel much lighter, much more balanced and even. You might notice now that you're not contracting anything. If you were before, maybe you feel a lot more seamless. If you were very aware you had a knee or a hip, it should feel a little lighter, more fluid, more seamless all the way up. Go ahead and raise your toes off the ground and see if that helps correct your sway. Drop the toes back down, and then let's lean forward, slowly roll your back down. Yay, I corrected my arm length. And if you did that, you know that you move the fluid higher than the hips. And then all the way back down, reassessing to see how much looser and more fluid that the muscle tissue is. So again, hopefully that gave you a good understanding of how easy it is to hydrate this fascial tissue, to move it through the rest of your body. So if you don't have any more time in a day but 5 minutes, 2 minutes, foot treatment's amazing because you can work the entire body by just the feet. And if you have even more time, again, go back and grab that soft little ball or the hard larger ball if you have the Melt Method foot kit, and do a little more specific work. Because after you've done this, you've worked through the layers to be able to work into the deepest layers of tissue. But foot treatment daily is going to change your world. Have a great day.